The following is a production of Fenix Media. The views expressed do not necessarily represent those of the company or its advertisers and may contain language that's unsuitable for younger listeners.
Welcome to the Dogish Podcast, the podcast dedicated to dog parents and the topics, events, and personalities impacting their lives. My name is Sylvia West, also known as Doug Up in This Bitch, and I am here with Jasen Arias, the founder of Forever USA, a photography experience for you and your dog. Jasen,
hello.
How are you today?
I am fantastic. How are you? I'm excited for today.
Dude, I am so stoked today.
I didn't realize how excited I was going to be, though.
Listen, you're always, I feel like, a little slow on the uptick.
Well,
but
there's so much of this stuff that's new. Like when you walk into a new class and you're like, okay, like I'm excited to be here, but I don't really know what's going to go on. And then all of a sudden they like open up and you're like, this is incredible.
You're like, my mind is exploding.
Yeah.
So today we are taking another wonderful trip into the world of dog sports. And we interviewed Kemma Rueschenberg, who is literally a world-renowned agility competitor. Her dogs are like ranked globally.
We get to meet Porky Pig.
Yes, Porky Pig comes on. She's cute. She's adorable. She's not what you think she is, but she is 14th in the world. So let's get to our interview with Kemma. I think you'll learn some fascinating things. And if you're like me, you'll leave with a motivation to want to compete in agility all of a sudden. So let's get to it. Hi, welcome, Kemma. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
We're doing pretty good. So you're coming to us from you. Now you and Jasen are both in the desert because he's likes to say he's in the forest, but he's in Reno, Nevada.
You'd be surprised how deserty it is here.
Okay. And then you're in, Go ahead, Jasen.
Oh, no. I was going to say, so I've lived in both places. So Kemma, you're down in, just outside of Phoenix, down in Gilbert. I think that's what we just learned.
Correct.
And yeah, I'm here in Reno, as Sylvia pointed out. Believe it or not, we are considered a desert here, but we still have 8 inches of snow outside.
Well, Arizona actually has snow right now too.
Oh, I saw you guys got the snow.
Does it really?
Yes,
no.
and not even a far drive from me. I want to say like an hour and a half away. So, in fact, Phoenix even got snow. They just got the, like that light dusting that doesn't really count as snow in most of the U.S. So we're all getting the weird weather this week, all of us.
Yes, my California, I should clarify, my Southern California girl proclivities do not allow for such intense weather swings.
See, I, on the other hand, I'm very excited. I'm like, I actually get to wear my warm fuzzy boots for like 1 week. The sweater goes on.
I'm just excited when it's 60 and I can justify wearing a hoodie. Like 60, I'm freezing. Oh, the chill. So we brought you on to talk about the wild and wonderful world of dog sports because you just so happen to be an absolute agility master. I've been following you on Instagram for a while, and the stuff you're doing is blowing my mind. But before we dive into that, I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about your 7 doggos. You are killing it as a dog mom.
Thank you.
7? That's awesome.
7, yes. So,
what are their names? I always love to know all their names.
Me too. My
oldest is Google.
Okay.
And then I have Popeye, Maybe, Gurr. Those are all my border collies. Okay. And I have a Jack Russell Terrier named Jelly Bean and 2 Chihuahuas, Polly Pocket and Porky Pig.
I love how opposite end those are. Because I think of I thought like Porky Pig would also be like a cute small dog name, like Polly Pocket and her friend, I don't know, a small elven name, Elfo. I don't know. But yes, Porky the Pig.
Did you just say Elfo?
I did, yes.
That's an elven name?
I don't know. Does nobody watch Disenchanted? Is it just me? All right. Anywho, so
okay,
seven.
So 7
We
dogs.
digress.
Yeah, I know. It's one of those days today.
Yes, 7 dogs. And it usually surprises people because, I mean, that's a lot, especially when you think that over half of them are border collies and they're known to be really high energy, kind of high maintenance breeds. But it's partially because I'm very involved in my sport. And since it's an active sport, I have to be aware of the ages of the dogs. Like there's a minimum age before they start, and there's not a maximum age you're allowed to run them until, but I tend to have a retirement age in mind for them so that way I end the game for them while they're still, healthy enough to enjoy their retirement. And I also like to compete in multiple height classes. So I have my dog who's retired, my dog who's competing, my dog who is up and coming, and then multiply that by 2. So I have it in the taller height class and the lower height class.
So, okay. So if I'm hearing this correctly, because most people think, agility, yeah, I need a border collie to do agility. And so you're telling me that Polly Pocket, it runs agility.
Porky Pig actually runs agility.
Porky Pig. Oh, Porky's with us.
Face.
Oh, no. So cute.
She's very tired. So Polly Pocket is my first Chihuahua. She is 3 pounds. Unfortunately, when she was 9 months old, she was diagnosed with a small dog genetic disorder called leg perthes. Now, as an agility person, I highly, highly recommend everyone get health checks on their dogs prior to getting like super competitive, because sometimes they'll do things like what Polly did, which was limp. Other times they hide stuff. And most of the things that we need to be aware of are easily diagnosed with x-rays at around a year old. So at 9 months, since Polly started limping, we did x-rays, found out she had something called leg perthes. It required an FHO, which for people that maybe aren't familiar with that, that's a femoral head osteotomy, which is where they remove the head of the femur. Yeah, it's a major surgery. It's typically done for things like hip dysplasia. Okay. Now, of course, removing the head of the femur to one leg in her rear end is going to greatly affect her ability to have a safe and long-term career in agility. So she became instantly retired as a young dog. She's spoiled rotten and gets to, do a billion things, just not agility. And I had planned on getting her a Chihuahua friend about a year later. And that's how I ended up with Porky Pig, who came from the Humane Society. And
that
Porky
name, with that name, I love it. I truly expected, I half expected, but half didn't, just because I know you're an agility queen, and also like a fitness instructor. So I knew you wouldn't have a fat dog, but when I heard Porky Pig, I expected to see like the typical little like rolled up Chihuahua pop up into my screen. Like the little, they're just like one size.
He's a little round right now.
No, he's so fit.
I'm so excited to hear about all this agility stuff, but my heart is dying to know like where all the names came from. Like we have some great.
So there's a variety. There's
everybody listening is going to be like, I thought we were going to be talking about agility classes and like, how to name your dog unique names. Like,
yeah. So
we'll get to the agility.
Right.
Naming is something that is, of course, always personal, right? So I have students that name all of their dogs human names. I have students that have themes, or every dog's name starts with the same letter. Like for me, it's something that is either powerful, inspirational, or of value to me, or the dog picked it. Like Porky, I really, really, when I got her from the shelter, she was adorable. She was like a just over a pound, and I really wanted to name her Tootsie so I could yell, "Come on, Toots!" while I was running agility. I had it all planned out. But she liked food, liked to roll in gross things. She quickly let me know she was not a Toots. She was a pig, and we went that direction instead. That's amazing. Polly Pocket was my favorite child's toy. Popeye was a cartoon that I enjoyed. So it generally, follows some sort of theme to my life. Google Big Fast has all the answers. Sometimes you just get a lucky answer, but
I love that. So there's something that I really want to hone into when we get back from this break, about something you said about appropriate ages. So more on that when we get back. Thing. All right, we're going to take a quick break.
Dear John, I'm leaving. Uncontrolled high blood pressure is serious, and I can quit whenever I want. Why can't we get back to when you checked on me? I don't want to leave, but remember, when I quit, You quit. Sincerely, your heart.
Listen to your heart and don't let it quit on you. High blood pressure can lead to a stroke, heart attack, or death. Get yours to a healthy range today. For help keeping yours at a healthy range, text PRESSURE to 97779. A message from the American Heart Association, the American Stroke Association, and the Ad Council.
WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio. Take one.
Behold the angry giant.
Try it again, Alberto.
Behold the angry giant.
Perfect. Good luck tonight.
Behold the angry giant.
Yay! Read me another one, Dad.
This is WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
It may be hard to believe, but people just like you are already saving money. FeedThePig.org makes it easy. Their simple savings plan teaches you how to start saving without going overboard, so you don't need to sell all your belongings and live in a commune.
These dungarees belong to all of us now, Tom.
You don't need to get a second job as a stuntman.
We need a new stuntman!
You just need FeedThePig.org. Don't get left behind. Get tips and tools at FeedThePig.org. Brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
Most of my family, they never graduated high school, so I'm trying to break that barrier.
My daughter, Brooklyn, was also a motivation for me to go back to school.
Every day after work, went straight to school, and it paid off.
At age 26, Kareem finished his high school diploma.
I could not have done it alone. I see the future is really bright for me.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
So I'm a cat, and I just moved in with this new human, and she's got this little toy she's always playing with, all day long. Tap, 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 bloop, bloop. She can't put it down. There it is. Oh, and get this. She even talks to it. Last week, she asked it for Chinese, and guess what? Egg rolls showed up. Like magic. Humans have cool toys.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
What if I told you that a tornado was going to happen tomorrow, right where you live? That it would touch down at exactly 3:17 p.m., and I told you the exact path it would take. You would, of course, prepare. You would talk with your loved ones, and you'd make a plan today. It's true, I can't tell you a tornado will strike tomorrow, but shouldn't you have a plan anyway? Go to ready.gov/communicate and make your emergency plan today. Don't wait. Communicate. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Fenix Media. Listen live and explore more great shows at fenixmedia.us.
We're back. So, right before the break, I have a burning, yearning question. As a dog nerd and dog trainer myself, I wanted to touch base more for our listeners who might be interested in agility on something that you talked about, which was appropriate ages. So I want to first talk about the correct age to start agility. So can you explain to us like what that is and how you got to that conclusion?
Mm-hmm. So learning can start right away. Literally an 8-week-old puppy can start learning, but agility is kind of an impact sport, right? Think of it as like hurdles for people or weightlifting. It's something that's going to provide a lot of extra stress on your joints and your bones. And so if you have a dog that's growing, you could potentially put too much stress on their growth plates or their bones and therefore cause injury. So what you're generally looking for is learning that helps them develop their body and their brain, but not put too much impact or stress on their developing bodies until the development is complete. So it's generally thought that dogs stop growing, depending upon the breed, somewhere between 9 months and a year and a half. The only way you really know is with x-rays. So I x-ray all of my dogs around a year old, so I can be sure I can start doing the higher impact training with them safely. Porky Pig, my Chihuahua, still had open growth plates in her shoulders, which are a weight-bearing growth plate at a year old. Her growth plates didn't close until 19 months old. On the other hand, I had another Border Collie that I x-rayed at 9 months old, and she had already fully closed all of her growth plates. Right. So
at 9 months?
At 9 months. So
Whoa.
I had an opposite experience based off of what you would expect for the breeds. So the only way to really be sure is x-rays. And I generally x-ray somewhere between 9 months and a year and a half, depending on, what breed they are, how they're growing, if they're showing any signs that make me worry, things like that. But up until then, you can do a little learning activity to help them develop their brain and their body awareness without affecting their growth. Now, the agility organizations themselves have rules and stipulations on when you're allowed to enter them in competitions. So there's really no rush anyway on the training, because you're literally not allowed to even enter them until they've hit those minimum age requirements. And that varies from 15 months to 18 months, depending on the organization.
Okay,
now,
can I ask a dumb question?
No dumb questions. Go ahead.
No. How do they know? Right. And it's relative, because we just brought a new dog into our house, and she's a rescue. Like, technically, I have no idea how old she is. We can only make guesses. So how do they do that? Do you have to have some kind of certification or papers? Like,
you send in, when you choose what organization you're going to compete with, you send in not only your handler information, but the dog's information, which would include, yes, their breed, or if they're all American in the case of rescues, and their date of birth. And for some people, it is an estimated date of birth. Like Porky Pig, she came from the Humane Society. She has an estimated date of birth. But
is that what they're categorized as? Is all American?
They can be. So they can be.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
Much better than mutt.
Yes. Those are our next shirts. We're definitely getting all American shirts. I'm all
All-American,
over that.
Yeah. So now, I mean, you can classify them as a breed if they're like pig and they're clearly a breed. They just happen to end up in the shelter. But most of our shelter dogs are who knows what's it's, right? And so they're all Americans in the agility organizations.
So good.
But
awesome.
now there is not a retirement age in any of the organizations. So what I usually recommend for people is that you either pick a number for yourself, and you could pick that based off of the average lifespan of your breed. Like, smaller dogs generally live longer, so therefore they could potentially have a safer, longer career than a larger dog. Or what I prefer to do, I set a number, but I also track their yards per second on their runs. So, and that's easy to track because every course you compete on, the judge will give you their measured yardage of the course, and then you get their time, so you can find your yards per second on runs. And if at any point that starts to decline, like your dog all of a sudden starts running slower, that's a good indicator that something's wrong, or they're just getting old and tired and maybe ready for retirement.
I mean, this is literally blowing my mind, because, and I'm a dog trainer too. Agility is not my sport, but this is literally a sport. Like, your dogs are athletes, and you're an athlete with them. You're actually tracking their yards per second. And I think that is so fascinating and so informative, and something that I really, if anything, I hope our listeners take away from this is like, A, the capability of a dog to be this focused, and B, like, that you can do this with your dog if you want to. Like, you and your dog can be athletes together, and it doesn't matter what kind of dog you have, because you're literally running border collies and Chihuahua mutts out of the Humane Society, all Americans out of the Humane Society. Yeah. So I think that's just, to me, it's so wonderful and so magical that this human animal bond can be created. It doesn't matter, like, you don't have to have a purebred border collie if this is a part of your goals with your dog. So we just had a great interview with another great trainer, and we talked a lot about goals. So when you're getting a dog, because you've now had 7, you're getting each dog with the intention of competing them? Is that like your overall goal with your dogs?
Yes, absolutely. I love agility. So for me, every dog I choose to bring into my life is a dog that I'm hoping to do the sport with. But I say hoping because, there's things that could happen that we can't necessarily foresee, right? Like Polly Puckett having the genetic disorder that prevented her from doing agility. So now there are agility handlers who take the sport so seriously that in the event that they get a dog that they cannot do agility with, they will choose to rehome the dog to a pet home so that they can bring another dog into their home. I'm fortunate. I have enough time because this is my full-time career, and I have enough space to where I don't have to do that. My dogs get to be my dogs for life, even if they can't be agility superstars. But it is my passion, so I love it if I can do it with all of the dogs that come into my life.
Amazing. So speaking on superstars, can you just tell our listeners a little bit about some of the amazing places that you've competed with your incredible dogs?
Yes. So Popeye and I have competed in Germany, the Netherlands. Popeye's my border collie, so he was my first Team USA dog. Jelly Bean and I, my Jack Russell Terrier, are due to compete in Belgium as soon as travel is allowed. Porky Pig is too small for international competition. They only have 3 jump heights internationally, and she would have to jump double her current shoulder height. So she is a national champion. She's actually one of the top ranked Chihuahuas in the United States. And so, of course,
go Porky.
Throughout the US.
We're in the presence of some real celebrities, worldwide stuff here.
Yes, 3-time Team USA. Well, 4-time if I count Border Collie Classic in Germany. So, but that, we ran finals in that, so that counts, right? So 4-time Team USA and multiple national podiums, tons of regional podiums. Porky, my little Chihuahua, got. There are 4 gold medal opportunities in an event called USDAA Regionals, and she got all 4 gold medals in her height class.
Porky just killing it, rolling in it, and killing it.
Yes, and height classes are mixed breeds. So she was against, the Shelties and Terriers and Papillons and anyone that fit in her height class. But yes, she loves to kill.
So you mentioned that a couple times, the height class.
Yes.
I don't think that was something else I wouldn't have been aware of. So how does that work in particular?
So your height class is determined by your dog's measurement from the top of their shoulder blades to the ground. People oftentimes assume that it's based off of your breed or the weight of the dog, but it's not. It's literally just top of what we call the withers. So it's where the pointy part of the shoulder blades are to the ground. So you'll have a variety of breeds within the same height class. The only exception to that rule is an event called the AKC Invitationals, which is where they specifically invite the top 5 of each breed from AKC events through a certain qualifying period to represent that breed. And that's how I know that Porky is one of the top Chihuahuas, is because she was a recipient of that.
Wow. So she went to the invitationals on invitation. I mean, Porky is seeming like your superstar, but I know you're doing amazing things with your border collies as well. So when you say Team USA, can you break that down for us? Because when I think Team USA, I think of the Olympics. So I'm ignorant, let's say, in this. So break that down for me. What is Team USA? How do you get on?
So Team USA is our Dog Agility Olympics. It is, you have to go through a certain qualification process to even get to a tryouts event. And then at the tryouts event, you have to get a certain caliber performance in order to either get what's called a win-on spot or a selection spot for the team. And then once you're a part of Team USA, you're wearing the Team USA jacket and traveling to Europe and competing against other countries. And there are both individual runs, so it's your score against everyone else's score, and at that event. And there are team runs where you plus your Team USA co-team members are scored together against other country teams. So, and it's really neat. And Popeye's first world team event, he ended up being 14th in the world for what we refer to as the games at the WAO, the World Agility Open in the Netherlands. So that was pretty cool.
How does okay, so right now my mind is trying to wrap around, you've mentioned all of these different events. Is there a hierarchy that we might be able to relate to as far as whether it's professional sports or minor league sports, as the way it works up? is there a pinnacle, a Super Bowl, since that's something that we're coming up to right now when it comes into agility sports?
Absolutely. And it's a little confusing. But what I always tell people is part of the reason why there's so many is because this, even though, yes, it's a sport, it's one of the neatest sports in my opinion, because it crosses, like you mentioned, all breeds, including mixes, all sizes, but also all types of people. I have I have students who are junior handlers. I have students who are in their 80s. I have students who are in wheelchairs. So any dog, providing they're physically healthy, and any person can play this game. So we have organizations that are geared toward that. They're geared toward the people that want to just get in entry level and, just enhance their relationship and training with their dogs, all the way to the people that are like me and who've made it into a career and plan on being very competitive. So your entry level organizations would be UKI, AKC, and USDAA. Now, all three of those organizations are national level, right? You can get all the way up to a national event, but you play them locally in order to then get to your national event. And then at your national events, and I say events plural because some of them have a national and a tryout. So some of them have different ways of doing it. But at your national events is how you would then earn your way to the international events. And some people, like I said, their goal is just local. And some people, their goal is national. And some people, their goal is international. But it's tiered differently as far as how difficult the competitions are and how many people you'll see at the event based off of those things.
Okay, let's take a quick break and more on this mind-boggling sport when we get back.
I spend a lot of time in the backyard, and I'm the center of attention at summer barbecues. In '96, I made some of the tastiest s'mores. And in '09, it was me, your backyard fire pit, that accidentally started a wildfire when a summer breeze carried one of my embers into some dry brush.
Spark a change, not a wildfire. Visit SmokeyBear.com, brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
My name is Lola Silvestri, and I'm going to be 95 this year. I was very independent. I fell, and I had to have Meals on Wheels. America, let's do lunch.
1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation. Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Hey everyone, let's all stop what we're doing and take a moment. You see, every moment can be kind of special. But they could be loud moments, goofy moments, dorky moments, it doesn't matter. Because every time dads like us take a moment like that to spend with our kids, well, it's pretty momentous. So let's take a moment to make a moment. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Now more than ever, family matters, and Surratt Law Practice has your family in mind. Kimberly Surratt and her team have been helping maintain healthy families through their holistic approach to adoption and surrogacy, child custody, estate planning, and more for over 13 years. Your family law concerns are in caring hands with Surratt Law. Schedule your private consultation with a compassionate Surratt Law Practice team member today by calling 775-636-8200 or visiting lawyersforfamilies.com. Surratt Law, where family matters.
The storks are bringing me a baby brother! We can do this together!
All right, let's go! Storks know how to keep kids safe. Do you?
What? Oh my gosh, you don't know!
I know!
You don't! Oh man, you laugh when you're uncomfortable.
No! Making sure your child is in the right car seat is one of the steps to safer travel.
I will rock this!
You will rock this! To know for sure that your child is in the right car seat for their age and size, visit safercar.gov/the-right-seat.
Cool. Very cool.
Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
It's important to plan ahead for emergencies, like the storm. When it kicked in, we had a plan.
Separated.
We were able to get in touch with each other in no time.
Idea how to find each other.
The whole experience was fine.
the most frightening 10 hours of my life.
If there's one piece of advice I'd offer other moms out there, it's to stay calm and keep to the plan.
Message.
Some parents plan ahead, some don't. Make sure you know where to find your family in an emergency. Start your plan at ready.gov. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Fenix Media. Listen live and explore more great shows at fenixmedia.us.
Okay, so you just described how you start kind of local, right? And maybe those are your hobbyists trying to figure out if this is something that they want to get into? Does that sound about right? Like kind of.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Because most of us don't know we really want to
right.
go further in the sport until we try that beginner
And then
level.
nationals. So there's not typically there's not a state. Then you go to nationals.
There are some regional events. So AKC does not have any regional events. They do local, national, and local tryouts. USDAA and UKI, they have regional events.
Okay, so what were the three groups? Like let's say I said, so I'm here in Reno and we're relatively small and I wanted to get into this. Who were the three groups that I would look into?
AKC, which I'm sure most people recognize that one. And you can do that one even with mixed breeds. Remember, they're the All-American.
Okay.
USDAA and UKI. Now, there are some other organizations that are even smaller than those three, but those are the big three in the U.S.
Perfect. Okay, so there's local, and then there's regional, and then we go national. And
Correct.
then if you do well at national, then you go, the next is international after that?
Yes, so there's national events that are both just national and national events that are tryouts. Your tryouts events are where you earn your way onto Team USA, which would be international.
And so then this is more structured like the Olympics as opposed to like a Super Bowl, right? So then
Correct.
Once you go international, you're representing a Team USA. And do they hold those events like every year, or is it every 4 years like the Olympics? Like how does that work once you get to the international event?
The international event is every year, but similar to the Olympics, it does rotate countries. So, 1 year it might, like the year I went, it was in the Netherlands. The next year it might be in Italy. It might be in Germany. So they actually do a pass the flag type thing at the international event to the next year's country and everything. It is really neat. They do a parade of countries where we all walk through with our flags. I think it's super cool. I get excited just thinking about it.
I know it sounds.
It's very cool. It's like
so that's the pinnacle. So that's like the peak of where you can get is that international annual event.
Correct.
What is that called?
So there are different ones because originally there was only one. It was the Agility World Championships, and it's sanctioned by FCI, which is the European sanctioning body for agility. But the Agility World Championships was only for purebred dogs. And obviously, as the sport grew, more of us were like, well, we don't all have purebred dogs with a 3-generation pedigree. So now there's still the Agility World Championships, which is still pretty much the pinnacle in the sport because it's the original. But there's also the European Open. And the European Open allows our mixed breeds. And then there's the World Agility Open. And that one also allows mixed breeds. So there's I would say 4 that are recognized now, 3 that are big, and the 3 that are big are the ones that I just mentioned.
Love it. And so what are some of the events? Like in my mind, I kind of have an idea of what agility is, but I'm assuming there's multiple events at these competitions. Like what are some of the things that the handlers have to do or the dogs have to do or that they have to do together? Like describe that for me a little bit.
Okay, so the 2 main events that people will see all the way from the local to the international level are what we refer to as jumping and agility classes. So now jumping classes have jumps, tunnels, and can have weave pulls depending on the organization. The agility classes, also referred to sometimes as standard classes, will have the same equipment, jumps, tunnels, and weave pulls, but they'll also include the contact equipment. That's the A-frame, dog walk, and the teeter or seesaw. So now there are 2 organizations that include what we refer to as games classes, and that's the one I had mentioned that Popeye ended up 14th in the world for. So games classes are strategy classes. They have all the same equipment that I just mentioned, but you do not get a preset course. You get a time restriction and some certain rules, and you have to come up with a strategy in order to get the most amount of points within the time given to you. So it's a combination then of skills and strategy. And the games classes, they either stress people out or people love them. It's a love-hate relationship. It's because of that. But I think they're a lot of fun.
sounds like a lot of pressure because you're like, okay, there are no rules. Here's all the equipment. Get all the points you can. Ready, go. You're like,
Right. And you getting first or third could be the difference of 1 point, which could be your plan. Could be your plan. That's one jump that someone did that you skipped because you thought you wouldn't have enough time. And it turns out you had 2 seconds left on the clock, which would have been plenty of time to get one
more jump. Wow.
Yes. So it can mess with you.
So you mentioned a lot of the equipment that are running through the different courses, the jumps in the agility. So the agility class. So just break down for everybody, because I'm sure everybody knows like what jumps are, right? Those are your dog goes over for everybody who, right?
Which remember, guys, is based off of your dog's height. So if you have a small dog, it does not need to jump 20 inches. I know they can jump on the couch. Don't kill your dog. Don't kill your dog.
Please don't injure your dog. So break down for us some of the other equipment, like what is the A-frame? What is I think my favorite is probably the teeter, just because it's really fascinating.
I think I heard, what is it? Weave poles or
weave poles?
Weave poles. Okay.
Yeah. So break some of that down for us. And then like, what are your favorites?
So jumps, as you mentioned, are just hurdles, which is relative to your dog's height. So everyone's dog, yes, can jump. Don't overdo it. It's really easy to Google what your dog's jump height class would be based off of the venue and your dog's height from shoulders to ground. Tunnels are literally what they sound like. They're tubes that your dog has to run through. They cannot see you while they're in them, so they can be challenging for some people to train initially, because most dogs don't like to take their eyes off the cookies or the humans. But later on, when they have a lot of value for them, we refer to them as particle accelerators. What goes in comes out faster.
Yes. Hunter, by the way, I ran Hunter in agility for like 2 weeks, and well, it was a little longer than that, but he did not understand the tunnel and liked to use it as a bridge. So he was like a little Pomeranian. So he would jump on top and run along the top of the tunnel. And I was like, buddy, not quite what we're aiming for here.
They don't want to take their eyes off the cookies. So it's very normal, very normal. A-frame is, if you think of like A-frame style houses, right, where they've got that triangular type roof, that's what an A-frame is. The dog has to go up one side and down the other. Having to touch the yellow on the downside is part of the criteria of the obstacle.
Break that down. Break down, touch the yellow.
Oh, there's a yellow zone on all the contact obstacles. And if the dog is required to touch it, it was initially created as a safety rule so that the dogs don't jump from the top and hurt themselves. But it has become more of a performance rule at this point versus a safety rule. But that is, if basically like, so a jump, if they knock over the bar, it's faulted. They did not perform the obstacle correctly. The same thing applies to an obstacle like a contact, but instead of displacing a bar, it has to do with, did they touch the yellow or not?
So just to kind of break this down for our listeners, when you get the A-frame, it's like, for those who are watching, it's
I know, I do it too.
It's a triangle. Yeah, I think Kemma explained it as like a roof. Yes. So it's striped. So there's a yellow zone, a blue zone. Usually it can be purple, and then another yellow zone at the bottom of the ramp. So when your dog is coming down the ramp, they have to actually go down the ramp. They can't just like leap off the ramp because they're excited to get to the next thing. They have to actually make contact with the bottom of the ramp, which just means in the competition, they're just ensuring that your dog goes down all the way. So if you imagine like your dog kind of skipping the bottom step, they're not allowed to do that. They have to go down all the stairs. I think Jasen, did that make sense to you?
Yeah, totally. Now I'm wondering, like, do they have like a like an instant replay? Because I would assume that sometimes it's pretty close. Like and like somebody throws in the red flag. Like, I mean, like how does
So they do actually. So at the national event for USDAA, they have a replay. They have video replay. The national event for UKI utilizes 2 judges, and all the international events utilize 2 judges. So because they want to make sure it's not only the difference in safety for the dog, but it's the difference in what we refer to as a clean performance, a clean run, or a faulted run. And obviously, when you're looking at placements, you don't want the guy who's getting gold to actually have missed his dog walk contact, because that's not fair. If the guy getting silver did not miss his contact, right? So yes, there is actually video replay or more than one judge to ensure as much as possible that it is being judged fairly.
All right, so moving on. We did the A-frame, we did the hurdles, we did the tunnel. Let's talk about those weave poles.
So weave poles, they kind of look like the sticks in the ground. I'm sure we've all seen them on YouTube, or if you go to my Instagram, you'll see tons of videos. And that's where the dog literally is weaving. They're doing a back and forth motion between what looks like just sticks in the ground. There are rules to the performance of that obstacle also, like they have to enter with the first pull on their left shoulder. They can't skip any pulls. Obviously, there's measurements to make sure that the pulls are legal. So every obstacle in agility has specifications for design, so what its creation should be like, and then performance.
Those things always blow me away. When I watch some of the dogs cruise through those things, that one probably fascinates me the most, because they just like the back and forth, and it's almost like they're moving in a straight line, and their fur is just wrapping around it somehow.
It's really neat, isn't it? It's actually one of the more fun obstacles to train, because it's both a combination of muscle memory and behavior training. So it's really neat to see it develop, because when they understand the motion of it, the behavior of it, they can do it super fast.
Yeah, and their little tail works like a little rudder almost. It's very cool. Okay, so let's talk about one more of your favorite obstacles.
So I actually love the teeter. Most people don't, because that one's one of your harder ones to train. You're working against survival instinct with training the teeter, meaning your dogs might be afraid of noises or motion. And if your dog is not afraid of motion, your dog will be so much easier to train on the teeter, but be careful around cliffs, because they have very little survival instinct. so, pros and cons to a dog that's easier to train on the teeter.
You ain't going to Grand Canyon.
Right, exactly. Because generally, if you get on something and it moves, your survival instinct says, hey, I should get off of this. This is dangerous. So if you have a dog that doesn't go, hey, I should get off of this, survival instinct is very slim in that dog.
Oh, dear. This is not boding well for Juniper. One of the first things I did was I took her over to my friend's house, and she played on the teeter at like 8 weeks old. She had no fear of it. She was like, yeah. And she pushed it down and it smashed. And she was like, this is cool. So I'm very worried now about my...
It means it'll be easy to train on the teeter, but you'll have to be careful in life situations.
Noted. Okay, I think this is a good place to take a quick break, and we'll come back with more Kemma and this incredible agility stuff.
Allison is perfect. I mean, she'd never tell you that. She's humble and perfect. She likes everyone. She even likes her untidy roommate's weird guinea pig. Allison, wait, are you texting and driving? Allison, no, that's the exact opposite of what I was just saying about you. Why, Allison, why? Texting and driving makes good people look bad. Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
I'm Paul George of the Indiana Pacers. When I was 6, my days were spent playing basketball. When I was 6, my dream was to make it to the NBA. When I was 6, my mom had a stroke. So I want you to learn to spot a stroke fast. F-A-S-T. F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911. I'm Paul George. Spot a stroke fast. Visit strokeassociation.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.
My name is Lola Silvestri, and I'm going to be 95 this year. I was very independent. I fell, and I had to have Meals on Wheels. America, let's do lunch.
1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation. Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
This is Mario Andretti. You know me as a race car driver, but I'm also a Meals on Wheels volunteer. I've raced against the sport's biggest personalities, but I've never met more vibrant, amazing people than the seniors served by Meals on Wheels. You can make a difference by dropping off a hot meal and saying a quick hello. So, America, let's do lunch. Volunteer your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
People been saying to your friend, get a different face, and posting on their feed, they're super ugly. The things they say to them online are cruel and they're not
someone being bullied online, you can be a witness and make a difference by letting the world know it isn't cool and by letting your friend know you care. Learn more at eyewitnessbullying.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Hope you enjoyed your meal. And I just want to say, he's lucky to have a brother like you.
Lucky? Caring for my brother is far from easy. But he's a part of me, like my arms and legs, so I'll be his. No time for tired. Nothing can disable this love. He needs me, but I'm the lucky one, even though I need help now and then.
If you're caring for a loved one, visit aarp.org/caregiving for care guides and community support for your strength. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Fenix Media. Listen live and explore more great shows at fenixmedia.us.
Okay, so we just got done. I mean, are there more agility obstacles? Like I think we've talked about 6 or 7 of them so far. I'm sure there's lots. I mean, I don't want to leave out like 1 or 2, but if there's like 37 more, then I've got to
No, there's not 37 more. There's the tire, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's like a hoop style jump. And then there's the long jump or broad jump. Same thing, different names depending on the organization. And it just looks like a whole bunch of tiered planks, kind of like cell phone signal bars. You know how they go up in ring? They look like that, and the dog jumps across it. So instead of height, like a normal hurdle, they're going long. So those are really the only 2 other obstacles we didn't cover, or at least list.
See, I'm glad we didn't leave him out. Would have felt bad leaving those last 2 ones.
Yeah, what if somebody loves the broad jump and we just were like, broad jumpists?
So how do you get started though? Like, again, and I'm always coming from a place because my dogs are relatively untrained and they're not very agile by any means. But like, so how would somebody get started in this? How do they find out if this is going to be a fit for them, and that their dog is going to enjoy it? I think that would be one of the things. Like, I would hate to see somebody forcing their dog to go through this. But like, how do you make those decisions?
So that's actually one of my favorite questions that or comments that I'll get with my newbies when they start in one of my classes is I'll do agility if my dog likes it, because I feel like that's such a loaded statement. To me, agility is a trick, right? Does your dog like to do high five? Sure. If you train it, right? Like, it means a cookie. Yeah, of course I'm going to high five. So to me, agility is just like that. The only dogs that will not like agility are dogs that either do not get enough reinforcement when learning the game. So you make it a chore instead of fun, or they have something physically that inhibits their enjoyment of it, right? Like I mentioned, my Chihuahua that had the hip problem. If I were to ask her to continue doing agility, it probably would have caused her pain. So of course she wouldn't have liked it. But if physically your dog is healthy and you find a trainer or you yourself are generous with your reinforcement, so I'm talking good food, toys, praise, all of the above. Don't be greedy. Then yes, the dog will like
$100 bills, y'all. $100 bills.
Right, exactly. You should be making it rain during those training sessions.
Okay, so you're saying basically any healthy dog would enjoy doing this.
Absolutely. In fact, I've had clients who have come to me with dogs that have major self-confidence issues, do agility not with the goal of competing, but of creating a more confident dog. And it is amazing the transformation that occurs, because that's exactly what you're doing. You are teaching them new things that they can be proud of, and that enhances their relationship with you. It gets them out of the house and therefore mentally enriches them, environmentally enriches them. I mean, agility, I compete. I love to compete, but agility is so much more than just competition.
So break that down first, because I know that as a trainer, I recommend agility to a lot of my shy dogs, because there's something very empowering about problem solving. And that's how I look at agility. It's like, it's a problem solving activity. Like, how do I get from point A to point B? How do I get through the tire? How do I get around these weaves? You have to problem solve. So it does challenge the brain in that way. So for a dog that is shy, like, break that down. Tell us probably, what's a good way to ask this question? What's your favorite client turnaround story from all of your clients?
From all of them. So I have two different ones.
Okay. Yes.
One is based off of the human. I have a client who has MS, which if you guys are not familiar, or any of your audience is not familiar with that, it can be a very, very painful disease, right? And
multiple sclerosis.
Yes. And she once told me that she loves agility because it requires so much focus and gives her so much joy that during that hour class or 15 minutes that she's training on her own is the only time she does not feel pain. So to me, that is I will never forget that statement. She still trains with me. And I think she'll train with me until literally the disease prevents her from training, because it is something that enhances her life. And I think that's absolutely amazing. And then my other turnaround story was based off of a dog turnaround. And actually this client is still with me too, but not with this dog, because he did it with the dog just for her confidence. And that's literally what it was. I mean, the dog came in and I think she would have hid from her own shadow if that was a possibility, you know. And he got to the point where she could do everything that anyone else in the class was doing. He had to repeat the same class multiple times to help her through it, because you have to go at the dog's pace, right? You can't progress just because you're ready. You have to progress when they're ready. And he was so patient and so willing to do that for her, that she blossomed and she could do the same things any of the other dogs did. Now, he didn't set competition goals for her because he just wanted her to have a more healthy mental and emotional state, but he got addicted in the process of training her. So he now has 2 border collies that he competes with. So he's actually now a 4-dog household, and started with 1 when he met me, his poor wife.
What did you do?
She's so fortunate. That's how I see it.
And like, see, when I hear that story, like, that is inspiring to me to hear the client turn around in that, just in terms of like, I think it's so wonderful when a client is willing to meet the dog where the dog is. And like, for any of our listeners out there, you know, they are unique individual personalities, and like being able to take that patience and really meet your dog where they are is so important. And the turnaround, as Cam is sharing, is so rewarding when you finally get that breakthrough and you finally get that last little push. I mean, you get to see the dog that you really have that might be hiding behind that shyer exterior. I love both of those stories. I almost cried, but I held it together today. I think I cry at least once an interview. I feel like I
totally looked up to see if you were wiping the cheek.
Like, what is this? I'm such a dog mom. Jeez.
Because it's nice to know something that can change people's and dogs' lives in a positive way. You know, I mean, there's so much negativity anymore, and it's really easy to get wrapped in that. And it's nice to find those positive things. And
pun intended.
Pun intended.
Yes, exactly. So, and just to add on to the transformation type stories, if you guys do start agility, anyone listening to the Starts Agility with your dog, and you have one of those dogs that starts out insecure, it doesn't mean they can't ultimately be competitive too, if that's your goal. Porky Pig is sound phobic, which can be genetic. The first time she heard a teeter, she was probably 100 feet away from it, and she took off like she had been struck by lightning. And now, as I had mentioned earlier in this conversation, she's one of the top Chihuahuas in the nation. I had to be really patient with. Yes. And I had to be really patient with her in training the teeter, because she was fearful, but because, like we talked about with my student's dog, you go at the dog's pace. If you're patient and rewarding and tell them that they can trust you, right? I mean, that's the one thing you've got going into this, aside from food and toys. You have your trust in your relationship. So if you keep that, if you say, hey, I'm only going forward when you're ready, it gets better. But if you push them, then you break your trust bond. And now it doesn't matter if you're holding steak. They don't trust you anymore. That thing is scary, and I'm not doing it. Amazing.
All right. So we end the show in a very important way.
Yeah.
So, Jason, if you will.
Okay. Are you like, this is very show appropriate, because we've been having this conversation a little bit.
Oh boy.
What happened to the sheepdog who ate the rose?
Who ate the what?
The rose.
Who ate a rose?
I think you already told this one.
No, I didn't.
No?
What
Okay.
happened? Yeah. What happened to the sheepdog who ate a rose? He turned into cauliflower.
You did tell this one.
I promise you I didn't.
I promise you did.
I know. I remember you hearing it, but we needed to use it for this one because we've been talking about the collies so much, and I like
the herding breeds.
Yeah, the herding breeds, and I love it.
Amazing. All right. Well, Kemma, thank you so much for coming on with us today and chatting with us about agility. We will definitely have to have you on again, probably when this competition season kicks
when is some of the next big competitions?
Yeah.
Well, it depends on the state of the world.
Right.
There is supposed to be the next Team USA tryouts in April. No one knows for sure if that's going to happen yet because we don't know what travel restrictions may still be in place at that point. There is another one in May. So again, fingers crossed. After that, the big stuff happens in November.
Perfect.
Amazing.
And we can follow your journeys on Instagram, I'm assuming, or TikTok, or where are you at?
I'm most active on Instagram, so that's probably the easiest place to find me. But really, you can find me anywhere because I'm like all of us. I'm in all the places.
And what's your name on Instagram?
It's my first name, so Kama, and then add the word agility, Agility, Kemma Agility.
And she's got some incredible videos of her and her dogs. I've never seen a tiny Chihuahua move so quickly. So I always love watching your videos.
I think everyone loves Porky's videos the most. I'll post something of Border Collie and it gets like 100 views. Porky, 24,000.
It's just so cute. She's just this tiny little bleep and she's just like a little white blur going across the video. It's adorable.
She looks a little bit like a rodent running through an agility
Go
course.
watch it. It's amazing.
Thanks so much,
Thanks, Kemma.
Thank you.
Bye.
We'll talk to you again soon.
Bye.
Bye. I want to take a quick sec and thank everybody who's joined us on today's podcast for listening. Make sure to follow Kemma on her Instagram account. She does both online training and she does in-person training. So go check that out. We're going to add that link down into our description, as always, with anything else that we mentioned on the show as well. And then while you're at it, go ahead and hit the subscribe button on the Dogish Podcast show as well, so you can hear the upcoming shows that we've got going on. And
also, if you are listening and you do love what we're doing here, please leave us a rating and a review. We thrive on them. We love the ones we've gotten so far. We want to hear what you think about what we're doing.
I think that the only place they can do that is on iTunes.
Go to iTunes, everyone now.
So listen to iTunes, leave your review there.
Fast.
And then send us a message.
Faster.
If there's a topic or a personality or something in the dog parenting world that you want to know more about, or you think that we should be telling more people about, make sure to reach out. And until next time, Miss Sylvia, I will see you then.
Sir Jasen, I will see you then.
Bye.
Bye.